Oregon's local alert weather with Eric Oren.
Well, happy Thursday to you, Central Oregon. We almost made it to the end of the week, but let's start your look at weather this morning out with a view of Bend from Aubrey Butte. And you see some clouds in the sky, but also some light starting to develop. And we're probably going to get a nice sunrise here before too long. And it's going to be a fairly mild day today, but we do see a couple of areas with some freezing conditions out there this morning. Let's take a look at some road conditions. Now, Prineville did have an area of limited visibility pop up fairly recently here this morning, and it doesn't look to be super dense or widespread, but something to be aware of. Rest of the areas here on these maps looking to be above the freezing threshold, though Redmond early this morning was still sitting right around that freezing mark. Not a lot of concern for black ice, though, as we've been so warm and clear over the last several days. Now here's that visibility map I spoke to you about. You can see an area that's cropped up there along the highway towards Prineville, and that area has moved around a little bit this morning, but something to be aware of in case you're making your commute out in that direction this morning. Also, let's look at the travel conditions in the mountain passes. We're expecting that there's going to be a chance we'll see a little bit of weather, rain, mixed precipitation, maybe even a little bit of snow up in the Cascades going into this weekend. And you can see a little bit of activity there on Century Drive on the way to Bachelor, and then wet roads and Government Camp, Santiam, and Willamette passes. And we're expecting a little bit more of that activity here before too long. Let's take a look at your satellite and radar. We see an area of low pressure offshore that we've been tracking. It helped us to break down that high pressure that was dominating us earlier this week. And it's bringing some moisture well to the north of us. Now it's also going to affect the Cascades just a little bit probably early this morning, but the stronger chance for rain on the lower elevations here in the high desert probably going to develop into tomorrow and last with us through the weekend going into next week. Until then, we're looking at mostly cloud cover here as a result of that low pressure system approaching us. Now, let's take a look at your future track here. We see a little bit of activity developing sort of early in the mountains. It's fairly light and scattered, but may amount to some limited visibility and potentially a little bit of rain, possibly some snow as well. As we make our way throughout the day, we see this flowing taking place, giving us some cloud cover, and a little bit into the later afternoon and early evening, we see a chance for some scattered showers here on the high desert. It may not actually make it to the surface as we're going to be mild again today, a little cooler than yesterday to be sure, but still a little above average, so it may not make it to the ground. That's going to clear up a little bit, and then going into the early morning hours of tomorrow, that's when we see this rain starting to develop here on the high desert. It's a stronger likelihood that that's when we'll see a little bit of rain here in the forecast area. Now, winds right now fairly light and calm. They're going to pick up a little bit, not too much. Out of the southwest around 5 o'clock, here's a look at the direction and the speed. We're looking at around 10 miles an hour as the max. A couple of miles per hour slower and a little bit more relaxed than yesterday, so wind's probably not going to affect you all that much here today on the high desert. And then going overnight into the early morning hours, we're looking light and calm again, so not too much concerned with wind speeds going overnight tonight. Your forecast highs today in the 50s and 60s, still a little above average. And your lows not really set to return to those freezing conditions with the exception of La Pine coming in at 32 degrees as we round the corner here and look at your 7-day forecast. See a fairly clear day here today and then a chance for some rain setting up with us end of this week, lasting with us into the weekend when those overnight temperatures start to dip down into that freezing range, giving us a chance for some mixed precipitation in the early morning hours and up in the Cascades. That's been a look at your local alert weather.